Going live. Hello, everybody. We are live here with ProCare Health as our sponsor, and we are joined with Dr. Susan Mitchell, our special guest today, and we're talking about fighting inflammation with 7 foods, special foods, and obviously there's many more than that, but we're going to focus on some things that are really doable and that you can implement into your daily activities to help you just feel better. So I think some of the things we're going to be talking about is black beans, being cherries, and avocado. We've also been going to be talking about, inflammation, how it can be used to help prevent disease and help any kind of processes that are already going on. So with that being said, I'll do a short intro for myself and then Brittany, and then we'll kind of talk. We'll let Dr. Susan Mitchell kind of take the stand. So, hello, tell us hi if you're joining us on either Crowdcast or Facebook. We love seeing you and hearing from you. For those of you who haven't joined us before, my name is Brenda, and I'm a nurse. I started working with ProCare, our sponsor, actually back in 2012 and 13. I was a coordinator for Bariatric Surgery Program, and we kept their vitamins and sold their vitamins out of our clinic. And so I got to know the owners of ProCare and got to work with them. And then recently just went full time as a consultant for them. And Brittany and I do these Facebook Lives weekly, and we do support groups monthly. We'll share here in just a moment our ProCare Health channel on Crowdcast. So if you decide you'd like to follow us, you'll get notifications when new events are getting ready to start. So Brittany, go ahead and tell us hi too.
Hi everybody. So my name is Brittany, and as Brenda said, if you're new, we do these weekly live events every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. So obviously that might change depending on where you're at. We do these on both our Crowdcast channel and Facebook. Both are free platforms for you guys. So, and hopefully we'll have some time at the end of the video we can kind of share with you some of the topics that we've covered in the past in case you are new and you want to see those resources. So we also do support groups too. Typically they are the third Thursday of every month, with this month being the exception, I believe. Or no, it is September. That's the exception, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, just wanted to say hi. And I also am going to be paying attention to the comments. If you have any questions, excuse me, sorry, I've been very congested this week. But if you have any comments or questions, make sure that you're using the Ask a Question feature in Crowdcast, or just comment and ask below in Facebook.
Yes. We love, this is what makes it fun, is to have the collaboration from all of you and all the questions and that type of thing. So let's kind of move on, I guess, with our special featured speaker today, Dr. Susan Mitchell. She's a dietitian. And Susan, I guess I met you a couple years back through a paired friend that we both had. And, I'm going to just say you've done so many things. Right now, she is developing an online course on nutrition for patients post-bariatric surgery. She does podcasting. It's beyond bariatric surgery. Breaking down nutrition is her big emphasis. And tell us a little bit more, because you've done so many things, Dr. Mitchell.
I'm so glad to be here, by the way, with you guys on the show today.
Yes, thank you for joining us.
Oh, I'd love to. We were talking about, we like to do things that are fun and different. This is a great way to answer what's on your minds. And I know that you guys have questions about inflammation, because I get them sent to me through email and the newsletter and instant message, all kinds of things. And so we're going to try to answer them. So send them to Brittany, because I don't mind answering questions at all. What it's on your mind as we start talking about this. So Brenda, to answer your question, we met, because the podcast before was called Beyond Bariatric Surgery, and that's when you were a guest on, and that's how we first connected. It's such a small world. And
Yeah.
when we did a rebranding about, now it'll be coming up on 9 months, and Beyond Bariatric Surgery became Bariatric Surgery Success, and that's how you find it in all the podcatchers now. And that's when I came back to you and said, hey, where are you? Are you still in the bariatric world, and what are you doing? And do you want to do something again? So we reconnected. That's what makes the bariatric world a great world of tools and people. So, I was thinking about this topic when you and I first talked, inflammation. Because I get a lot of questions, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go to Dr. Google, and I'm going to see just how popular this topic is. So, I go and I type in inflammation and diet, and guess what pops up? And just like this, 210 million hits. So
oh my
it's
goodness.
a topic, 210 million in split second. So that's how many people are also thinking about what we're talking about today and looking for it and looking for answers. So I'm hoping that we can share information that's going to be beneficial to all of you guys. So when you first started, I was laughing because you said, okay, what do bean cherries and black beans, avocados, and nuts all have in common? Any idea? Da, 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 da.
I don't know. I really don't know.
I'm wondering if it has something to do with inflammation, because this is our topic today.
Right. So if we're talking about inflammation, and you've got bean cherries, black beans, avocados, and nuts, you think about them, they don't really fit any other way. But actually, they are all foods that fight inflammation. And that's what we want to talk about today, is that, you hear the word inflammation and you think, I always thought that was a good thing, because when you cut your finger, you want your immune system to start sending out those, fighters to take care and heal that wound that you make. So that's when inflammation is good, because it brings the immune system out to do what it does best, which is respond. But on the flip side, there's inflammation in the body, or what we call chronic inflammation. You don't see it. It's not something you look at someone's body and go, you have inflammation, because it doesn't show. It can be, you can see it with lab tests, of course, that's one way to figure that out. But when you have chronic inflammation in the body, that's not a good thing, because what we know, and Brenda, as a nurse, you're really well aware of this, is that inflammation is underlying to so many conditions, from autoimmune diseases to diabetes, to the tie that they're finding to obesity, which is really fascinating new research that's going on. And it's kind of like, in the world of obesity and bariatric surgery, we're not sure. That the research is so new that's being looked at. It's kind of like, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? And by that I mean, so is it because someone has inflammation in their body and they have chronic inflammation that this starts to mess with their insulin? And then when it does, this too much insulin, and this, we start to see diabetes, inflammation, obesity becomes more of a problem? Or is it the flip side, that if someone has gained weight, does that push the markers up for inflammation in the body, and then we see more of it? So we're not real sure, but we know for sure that there is new research showing a tie between obesity and inflammation. So that's where, to me, diet becomes really important. It's just one of the tools that you can use to help you be, a lot more healthier, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys, as a nurse, Brenda, you probably look for the marker called C-Reactive protein. So that's one of the lab tests that many physicians will use to measure. Like, somebody says, how do I know if I have inflammation in the body, well, it's a precursor or it's behind a lot of diseases like we just talked about, from autoimmune to diabetes to things like that. But to test it, they can do a CRP or an HSCRP, high sensitivity C-reactive protein. And if that's elevated in the blood, then that's typically a good telltale sign that, okay, there's some inflammation going on in the body. And the longer that CRP level remains elevated, the more chronic the inflammation becomes in the body. And again, it's not something that you see, but it's something that is behind what's going on with disease, and it does show up in your lab work.
So what would a C-reactive protein be suggestive of if that's elevated? Inflammation, obviously, but it's not specific to a certain area of the body, or is it?
Well, certainly, I think if a physician sees a CRP that's high, let's just say they're running typical blood work and they see a high CRP, I think they're going to start looking at other things, and just to make sure, does somebody have diabetes? Are there cholesterol problems? Are there heart problems, heart issues, heart disease of any type? Has someone had a stroke in the past? Do they have any autoimmune factors that we should look at? What is going on with their weight? So there's so many things that inflammation plays a role in that they're probably at that point going to be asking questions, family history questions. They're going to be seeing what else they're being treated for right now, what other kinds of things are showing up in their lab work that might be indicative to say, okay, this is unusual. So that's where they're going to start looking a little bit deeper and saying, why? And we see this, but that's an indication of something, right? So we've got to get to the indication of what that is. And so if you're treating heart disease, or you're treating cancer or diabetes, or working with your weight, all of these things, one tool, and I always say one because we all know there's many tools that have to come together to make your health be the very best it can be. But one of the tools is an anti-inflammatory diet. And that's what today we're talking about, all these different foods that might make a difference.
So one of the questions here I have for you is, I've heard you talk about the synergistic effect of food.
Yeah.
What does that mean, and would you explain it and explain its benefits? What that does?
Okay, so I'm glad you asked that, because if you're on the internet looking and you're looking at anti-inflammatory foods, you tend to see one food pop up. This is the one you need. Eat this all the time. Or somebody else will say, oh no, it's this food. And you feel overwhelmed, like well, which one is it? Is it that one? Is it that one? Is it a bunch of others? I don't really get it. And how can I just eat one food all the time and get this anti-inflammatory effect? Well, you can't. That's the answer. So the word synergy means working together as a team. So the easiest way to think about it, I don't know if you guys watched any of the Olympics just recently.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah.
Okay, like if you saw the synchronized swimming, for example, or volleyball, basketball, really doesn't matter, but anything that's played as a team sport, they're playing as a team. So they have what I call synergy together, right? They work together, everything works together for the good of the whole versus a single item. So it's that way in food. When people say, well, can I just eat that one food and will that take care of my inflammation? No. But what it will do is add to another food and another food. So basically, the synergistic effect, you want a diet that has multiple foods for anti-inflammatory effects. So, when we said, let's talk about 5, 6, 7 of them today, that's because the more you pick and choose and put into your diet, the more benefit, as you were asking, that you're going to get from an anti-inflammatory diet. So when I was laughing and saying, what are black beans and bean cherries and avocado and nuts, all of this? They're all individually really good foods that work for the anti-inflammatory effect, but put them together like a team, meaning that you eat them routinely. And a good diet over time has 4, 5, 6 anti-inflammatory type foods every single day. That training, if you will, like for the Olympics, but that in your own diet of putting those foods in is a win-win. So that's how it works. Synergy or synergistic effect means team playing foods, working together in your body for the greatest benefit.
So I love that answer, and I love the way that you put it to make more sense, like with the synchronized swimmers and all of that.
Yes.
And it made me think. This isn't a question that we had talked about previous to this, but what makes a food good for inflammation? Is it the antioxidants in it? Is it specific vitamins?
That's a good question, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it's the whole ball of wax, because what we know in nutrition is that when you have a food, and let's use Bing cherries, because I'm going to be talking more about those anyway. But if you look at Bing cherries, they're a great source of fiber. Which, by the way, is an anti-inflammatory compound we'll talk more about. Vitamin C. But their red color, you know when you bite into it and that red juice starts running all down your fingers and hands?
Yeah, it can even stain sometimes.
Yeah. Well, those are called phytochemicals, and they're naturally occurring, or phytonutrient is another word for it, or plant nutrient. You'll hear different people call them different things, but a phytonutrient, phyto just means plant, nutrient means the nutrient that's in that plant. So that red color of a Bing cherry is from the anthocyanin, and that anthocyanin is just a big word that is a naturally occurring phytochemical. But what we know, research out of the Agricultural Research Center tells us that red color is powerful, and that in the body, those phytonutrients, namely anthocyanins, work as anti-inflammatory compounds. So in this case, there's a very strong compound in the Bing cherry themselves, that phytonutrient, that works along with the fiber and the vitamin C and the things like that. So that's what's kind of cool about it, is that each food might have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or more different compounds within it that are anti-inflammatory. Then you add to that partners on the team, and you can see how powerful that becomes for the body.
That's a wonderful way to kind of put it. I love that you talked about the color of cherries, because really a lot of different kinds of vegetables and fruits have specific coloring and specific ways they're grown. Whether they're grown from the ground, being a root plant, versus grown off of a branch, or grown, in water. I don't know. So those add to the chemical compounds and the way that the foods are made up. So that's really interesting.
Right.
So tell us,
Yeah.
Let's say, what are the 7 foods that fight inflammation?
Well, I wanted to talk about some different ones today, just because you hear so many of the common ones all the time. But did you know garlic, herbs, and spices? And most people go, no way, that's not really a food. But if you think about it, garlic, it gets used in everything. And turmeric, have you used turmeric at all?
I have before.
You see it, Brittany, sold as capsules. They're very, very popular. But turmeric powder is great in food. It's wonderful in stews. And we have a recipe on the website that for a latte that is a turmeric ginger latte that my intern developed, and it's really yummy. She's from Thailand.
That sounds really good.
In Thailand, they use a lot of ginger and a lot of turmeric. And so she said, I'm going to make a latte similar to what I use when I'm home in Thailand. And I said, great, make it and put it up on the site. So there's a recipe. If you are thinking, I don't even know what to do with it, it's an orangey yellow looking spice called turmeric, and mixed with ginger, it makes a really neat, warm latte. So try it. You can find it on a site.
So the site being your
on our website. So it's breakingdownnutrition.com. So breakingdownnutrition.com.
I'll add that link on here for anybody who's interested.
So just look under recipes and you'll find it under there. But even more common, so let's think, if you're going, well, you know what, I don't even have that and I don't want to buy it. Okay, so look in your cabinet. I bet you have oregano or rosemary or thyme or pepper, right? Especially if you've cooked a turkey, you probably have all of those things last Thanksgiving. But all of those have the same wonderful array of phytonutrients by different long chemical names and such. But all of those play a part. So one easy way is to start adding more spice to your food, easily, whether it's pepper, ginger, thyme, oregano, whatever. Make it part of your cooking, make it part of your recipes, add it into a soup, whatever you're doing. That's an easy way to add anti-inflammatory spices. And of course, garlic, if you're a garlic fan, that's an easy one. An easy one, it's good. And most people go, I had no idea. But that spices had all those properties, but they do.
I know someone that actually puts turmeric in his coffee.
Really?
Yeah, you can buy turmeric creamer. Like creamer that has turmeric in it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he puts in his coffee. And he swears that he can tell a difference. He's had knee problems his whole life.
Uh-huh.
And he swears that he has, better movement and mobility.
Wow.
So
He may use quite a bit. It's interesting. You do have to get, the taste, it's like expanding our palate, right? So
Right.
everything new that we try, it's a taste that you have to kind of get used to. That's one of the reasons that Pichea, my intern, mixes it with ginger, because ginger's a flavor that we like and know. And so when you mix them two together, it makes for a nice latte and an easy way to do it. So it's kind of similar to what he was doing, right?
Yeah.
You were talking about, Brittany and I did a live presentation recently on, I'm trying to think which topic it was on, but we talked about herbs, and we were talking about the properties of them, and we kind of went into talking a little bit about like essential oils and things like that, and like oregano and thyme and basil, and
was it the detox one?
I think it was, yeah, and how helpful those are. So even if you don't get it in food, there's other ways too. One of my good friends does a technique, some of you may be familiar with it. It's called the raindrop technique, and it's for pain control and inflammation, and it's used with essential oils, and it's used on the back, and it's done in a particular way. It's not really, it's kind of uses massage techniques, but they use 7 to 10 probably different essential oils, and a lot of them are the ones you're talking about.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know much about the essential oil. I know more about the ones from inside. But it is fascinating to me that the herbs and spices, just like food, do contain these natural phytonutrients that in the body can have a beneficial effect. So, and that's such an easy tweak to make to your diet, I think. It's just starting to add more spices. Very, very simple.
Yes.
Then
Makes
this
it
will
flavorful.
surprise you. Yeah. People. When I tell people, they say, "Wait a minute," because you probably have not heard this, but fiber is a good anti-inflammatory compound. And people go, "Well, wait a minute."
I had not heard that.
Really?
Yeah.
Fiber's not a food.
Right.
Correct. But it's an anti-inflammatory compound. It's a type of carbohydrate that's not absorbed by the body. But it has so many benefits. And if you think about where fiber is found, oatmeal, quinoa, all your different beans, black beans, cannellis, kidney beans, chickpeas, all of these kinds of things, they all contain fiber. And then think about your whole grains and your ancient grains that are so popular right now. Your fruits, your vegetables, and even nuts are all sources of fiber. So fiber in the body actually acts as an anti-inflammatory compound. It's one of the reasons there's such a push in the country right now to move away from so much sugar, which doesn't contain fiber, and switch over to what we call real food or whole foods. So vegetables, whole grains, breads and cereals, fruits, lots of beans, things like that. In fact, if you think about, I'm a real big proponent of using a lot of beans in the diet because their glycemic index is so low, and they work for bariatric surgery after you've moved a little ways down the track. But we'll have a little science 101 of why I love them. The talk about the microbiome right now. Everything is about the gut. What's going on in the gut? Should I have yogurts? Should I have probiotics? This and that and the other. It's all because of what's in here, what's called the microbiota or the microbiome, the health of your intestinal tract or gut, if you will. And that is just huge right now, the science that's going on behind it. And so when you have foods like beans, so black bean chili or black bean quesadilla, red bean chili, chickpea in your salad, those beans, when they break down, they make a substance called a butyrate. You'll never hear that word again, probably, a butyrate. But what I'll tell you about a butyrate from chemistry is that it gets in your microbiome and it makes it healthy. That's what you care about. Doesn't matter what it's called, doesn't matter how it's doing it. It's just the fact that when you eat a lot of the bean family and also lentils, that they get in your gut, your microbiome, and they produce these compounds that make your gut healthy and fight inflammation in a huge way. That's the benefit. So you're thinking, I don't care. What do I care about this butyrate? You care because it's a major anti-inflammatory substance, and it comes from finding ways to add all kinds of beans and chickpeas and lentils into your diet. And there's a zillion ways to do it. And by the way, not only are they loaded with fiber, but they are a good source of protein. So
Dr. Mitchell,
it's a great thing.
When we talk about fiber supplements and besides just fiber in foods, is there a benefit anti-inflammatory wise to taking a fiber supplement?
It's probably not going to be, I don't know the exact answer to that, but off the top of my head, it's still going to be fiber, depending on if it's soluble or insoluble, because there are two types of fiber. So it's still fiber coming in. It's just in the case of food, the difference is when it's in a supplement, it's been stripped of its nutrition. So you've just got the product of the fiber itself, the powder of the fiber itself. So let's use a black bean, for example. If you've got a cup of black bean soup right there, you've got that, how you call them black beans, but if you look at them close, they're kind of purple. Notice that? They're really kind of dark purple. Well, that dark purple, kind of like those bean cherries we were talking about, they're powerhouses of nutrition. So the food itself has more than just fiber. It has numerous vitamins and minerals. It has the fiber, yes, and it has numerous phytochemicals. So remember that idea of synergistic effect?
Yes.
So the synergy of the black beans themselves have the synergy of just what's in them, which is multiple components. And then you add that in with tomato sauce or what other garlic, pepper, whatever else is in that soup. And you can see how the fiber that way would be way more powerful than the fiber that's just a powder. But however, don't get me wrong, because there are times when you've got to have that powder, right? You just can't, you're not eating enough food, enough portion size to be able to get the amount of fiber that you need. So fiber from supplement is critical, but if you can do it first from food or start with food, you're getting all kinds of benefits beyond just the fiber itself. More than you ever wanted to know about fiber, right?
I was interested.
You'll go to bed tonight sleeping, thinking about your microbiota and stuff. That'll make you get up and want a big bowl of beans.
I didn't know that black beans had all of that in that, though. I mean, I knew there's plenty of protein, but so that's interesting.
I mean, yeah, and people, beans have always gotten such a bad rap, right? We all know songs that go with them.
Yes.
Things like that. So they get such a bad rap, but actually, beans are probably, and lentils, one of if someone had to say, are there top 10 foods that you would tell people to eat? And beans and lentils would be that, because of fiber, protein, and all the nutrition that's in there that has the anti-inflammatory effect. They're really high on my list, and they're such they're just so cost effective, right? I mean, budget wise,
it goes a long way. Like you make,
you
make some bean soup, for example. Geez, that can. I mean, it's very filling, and it can last and last and last.
And you can even, if someone comes over, you're unexpected, you're thinking, oh gosh, we're going to stay and watch a movie, I have no food. Well, if you go pilfer around in your pantry, I'll bet you can come up with a can of black beans, a can of corn, and some salsa. And if you take a bowl and mix together that, rinse the beans, put them into the bowl, pour the corn in there, and mix it all together with a bunch of salsa, you have got a great dip. And it did not take you 5 minutes. They're going to look at it and go, wow. And the recipe, you're thinking, I got to pull that together.
That does sound really good, actually. It's making my mouth water.
I
Because I
know.
love all of those things.
And then if you want to even make it look a little more special, if you've got parsley or cilantro.
I love cilantro. I put it in everything.
Don't you, Brittany? I do too.
I
that
do.
Flavor. And
Yeah.
if you just sprinkle it on the top, it kind of elevates the look.
It makes it look fancy.
You got it. Makes it look fancy. Easy fancy. And then it's a simple way to put with some blue corn chips or whatever. And just think what you've just done is you just fed somebody's microbiome with butyrate foods.
Probably the tomatoes and the salsa and the green peppers probably have anti-inflammatory effect. And then, so we have the black beans, the salsa, and the corn. So corn,
corn's
any
a very
anti-inflammatory? High in fiber?
Corn itself is very high in fiber. Those pieces of corn, but most people don't realize corn is also yellow corn. It's also very good for your eyes. It contains a lot of, you've heard from the studies, the phytonutrients like lutein and zeaxanthin that are good for the eyes. They're found in corn. So not only do you get fiber, you get some eye health benefits at the same time. And in fact, it's funny that you were saying that because vegetables and fruit were the next category I was going to bring up. Don't you think about it, that's kind of like we say, it's one of those we just blow off every day. Oh yeah, eat more vegetables and fruit. I mean, don't you know what I'm saying? You say it so much that you don't even really stop to think about, well, why, or which ones, or what should I do? But what I tell people is, and you've heard the government say this a lot in a lot of messages that they put out, eat the rainbow. Have you heard that? Or So if you hear the word eat the rainbow, what it means is, and you said this, Brittany, a few minutes ago, it's the color. That color that was on your fingers from the Bing cherries. When you pick and choose, so if you're in the produce section or you're picking up canned fruits and vegetables, doesn't matter, and you pick and choose color, those different colors, from the red of the Bing cherries to the black of the black beans to the green of spinach and kale, or the orange of a sweet potato, the bright green of kiwi. All of those.
Yes.
So color tells you, it's a simple message that says, hey, I'm loaded with nutrition that you need. So pick me up and take me home. So it's really easy because the colors tell you that. And it's a very easy way to say, add more. So when you look at food and vegetables and you think, okay, how am I going to fit these in? And I know after you've had surgery, this is a beginning process. So I'm not saying, hey, just bring all these in now. You have to work your way there based on how far along you are post-surgery and how many carbs you're adding back and all of those kinds of things. But the smart thing to think about is that when you start adding back, choose high fiber fruits and vegetables. So look for strawberries, blueberries, blackberries. Look for the bright green kiwi. Get spinach and kale, sweet potatoes. The bright colors tell you I'm doing something really good to fight inflammation, because they have those compounds, different ones, different from the anthocyanins of the red ones. That's just other long chemical names, of which there are many, but they make up these fruits and vegetables. So next time you hear somebody just go, oh, eat more fruits and vegetables, you think, you know what? That's a smart move if I want to fight inflammation, because that's what they do. That's one of their roles in the body. They also, provide everything from vitamin C and zinc and all these other things too, but they fight inflammation.
So I have a question for you. I was just thinking about all this because hearing you talk about the rainbow and all of these fruits and vegetables kind of made me want a smoothie, to be honest with you. Is there any benefit to eating these normally versus like putting all of those foods that you talked about together in a smoothie?
Well, the key is, Brittany, is when you make your smoothie that you don't remove the fiber. You know how in some processors, they when they blend it, the fiber comes out and all the fiber is left for you to throw away. You want to use a blender that blends the entire fruit or vegetable into it. So I'm a big one. I drink green smoothies a lot.
That's what I was thinking of, is the green smoothies.
Yes.
It just sounds really good right now.
and I love them. And I use in mine, as my liquid, I use orange juice for the punch of vitamin C.
Yeah.
And some water. So I dilute it down. I use some
Sure.
orange juice, some water. And then I use banana, because banana always gives a creaminess. And then I use spinach and then some other type of fruit. So it'll depend on what I have on hand, but it might be an orange or a tangerine. It might be a pear or an apple. Might even be blueberry. So you can imagine sometimes the green smoothie becomes purple.
Yeah.
Because I've added in blueberries or whatever. But yes, if they're left whole, by meaning they're intact and they blend into your smoothie, then that's fabulous. It's the smoothie that removes the fiber and only gives you the juice. So the correct term really is juicing is
Right.
not ideal, because why juice? You're just getting rid of what we said is one of the most powerful
And what you
anti-inflammatory compounds around, which is fiber, and you just threw it in the trash.
Yeah.
So juicing is not the way to go. It's more giving it a smoothie that's going to use the whole thing. And then, yeah, that's a great way, Brittany, to add fruits and vegetables, to do it quick and on the go, right? And
Yeah.
if you're thinking, I don't really like that flavor of spinach. I don't really like kale. Well, if you add it in with orange juice, a banana, some berries, it tastes different.
Yes.
Don't you agree?
Mm-hmm. I use the orange juice that has a little bit of mango in it. That's my favorite.
Oh, I
It's
think
really
I have
good.
to try that.
It's really good.
I like those mixes, like the raspberries, blackberries, strawberries, those kind of mixes. And those are really good for fighting inflammation too, I understand.
Absolutely. And you said something that's so good, Brenda, that, people think that their produce has to be fresh and that it's more nutritious. Well, I'm going to tell you that frozen vegetables and fruit work beautifully, are just as nutritious as the fresh. In fact, sometimes more so, because they're it's called IQF, individually quick frozen right on site. They're picked and frozen. And sometimes our other foods like travel. So by the time we get them, they're looking a little bit worn.
Yeah.
So I think your message is saying the mixed berries, frozen fruit, frozen vegetables can be fabulous to use in smoothies or desserts or other things as well.
And they add that extra little ice so that, like if you like your smoothies kind of icy, I mean, they contribute to that.
Or more thicker, too.
Plus, you don't have to worry about them going bad, in your refrigerator.
Yes.
Because a lot of times if you buy a bunch of fruit, like I have a tendency to overbuy produce because I love it. You get in the store and it all looks so delicious.
Yes.
And then you get it home and it's like you're gone half a week doing activities. Like these people who have children are out and about every night, you're not home, so you're not cooking, and then it's like, oh, you'd hate for it to go to waste. So freezing is wonderful.
It's true, because the life of the fresh fruit and vegetable is only a couple of days before it starts, looking kind of sad. So I think that your idea to do that is so smart, and I love telling people that because they do think it's not as good, and that's just not the case. And you can stock up when it's on sale.
Yes.
And then you've got it when people come over or you're tired, you get home and think, what am I going to fix? I can make a smoothie. Because you can always put protein powder in it.
Yeah.
Right? So
Thank you for bringing that up. Brittany, do we have any questions?
No, I do want to say hi to Rhonda. She made it a point to say hey there from Alabama. We're happy you're here.
Hey from Alabama. I'm originally, just in case you can't tell, from Tennessee. So I grew up in Tennessee. I've been in Florida for years, but that's my actual home. So I do probably retain a little of that Southern accent.
Southern twang.
Yeah, that little Southern twang, that little Southern accent. Oh, I don't want to let us go by without mentioning that another way to add an anti-inflammatory food you probably don't think about is through seafood. So tuna, salmon, even sardines. So if you're a canned sardine person, all of these, because of their omega-3 fatty acids, so the omega-3s in the body act as powerful anti-inflammatory compounds. So if you're not allergic to fish and you like it, adding a fish dish to once or twice a week is a really smart way. And so and contains significant amounts of omega-3s, especially your salmons and your tuna. And so again, it doesn't have to be fresh tuna, canned tuna, just regular chunk-like tuna in a can works beautifully. And so that's a goal that you can work towards, and always fabulous source of protein. So again, you can see the benefits that you're getting. You have protein in there, you have omega-3s, you have vitamin E, so lots of things going on that you can get from that. But most people don't think, and then they remind them and they go, hey, I remember those are your omega-3s. So find ways to add fish back in. Are you guys fish lovers? Do you eat fish at all?
Oh, I love it. Actually, that's what I just grabbed some out of my freezer. That's what I'm going to make for dinner tonight, I think. So.
And it's fast, isn't it? Most people don't realize. They think, gosh, I have to go home and cook, but you can cook a piece of salmon in about 16, 17 minutes.
It doesn't take very long at all.
So almost in the time that you put that into the oven, you can be putting together a salad or slicing up some fruit or blending up your smoothie and pull that salmon out, and it's really quick. It doesn't take a lot. And if you're thinking, I don't even know what to do with it, go back to those spices that we talked about and grab that rosemary and oregano and just put some olive oil, sprinkle some spices, try different combinations until you
when
find
in
what
doubt,
you like.
Mince up some garlic. That's what I do. We put garlic in everything in our house, but maybe, I don't know, maybe some people don't like it.
But if you don't, then try the others. If you don't like garlic, try the spices. If you're thinking, I don't like salmon, make a tuna fish sandwich. You still get that benefit of all of the tuna. So it's easy to add in different ways depending on budget, where you live, and what's available to you. All of those things matter.
Susan, I actually have 3 questions here. To finish this one that we have here that we were just talking about. So we talked about what are 7 specific foods that fight inflammation. So not sure if we're finished with that question, but I know that we've talked about.
Yeah, we've got 2 more to go, but we can answer.
Oh, we
questions.
do. Okay. So then let's go ahead and go to this next question in between. And then I have a question too here. Okay. Scotty says, Scotty, I love you. We love you're joining us again. And she says, how do people who've had bariatric surgery, let me press start answering. How do people who've had bariatric surgery deal with the natural sugars and fruits in smoothies and others?
Okay. Generally, they deal with it fine. But a couple of things you have to think about. Because natural sugars are typically found in items with fiber, like whole fruits, the chance for dumping syndrome is less. But it still comes back to portions. So you have to add it in slowly and see how you tolerate it. When you have added sugars, I'm going to use added sugars as white sugar, honey, maple syrup, all of those. They're so refined, and they're typically found without any fiber. You're just using them themselves. They will kick up dumping syndrome very quickly. But when adding it, the added sugars or the natural sugars in your fruit shouldn't be a problem if you're adding it in small portions that you're allowed and building your way back. So I would say the first time you do it, try it in a small amount, try it with your other foods, and see how you tolerate it. What do you say to that, Brenda? Is that what you all would tell your patients?
I think that sounds really good. Just the small amounts, trying it first, and then like you said, adding it in.
Because it's
trying little amounts.
Carbs, total carbs that can set off dumping syndrome. And so too much of anything, even if it's a super healthy carb, too much carb can still kick it off if you have a tendency or early or late dumping syndrome. So this way, if you keep the portion small, you don't give up what you love. And even if you do make it into a smoothie, if you've used the fiber with it, so you've still got the whole intact food in the smoothie, again, you're not going to want the 8 or 16 ounce, but you want to start small, with a quarter to a third of a cup first, and say, am I tolerating this? Does it cause dumping syndrome? How am I doing with it? So I never say never. It's more about individualizing and figuring out where you are post-surgery and how to add that back.
And then it looks like, okay, let me put it, done answering on that. There's a question that says, I was listening about the black dip with black beans, corn, and salsa, and I also have issues with digesting corn. Does that happen with others?
Yes. Digesting corn can sometimes be an issue. So if you know that, you could do the salsa with just black beans and salsa and cilantro, just do a twofer and leave out the corn totally. You could also mix a couple of different kinds of beans just to give it a different look, and leave out the corn until you find later down the track that you can tolerate it. You probably will later, but maybe not sooner. So yes, don't hesitate to make substitutions that work for you. Absolutely. Okay. Good thinking.
And it looks like she also says, my issue doesn't seem to be dumping, but more of a hypoglycemic issue.
Yes, hypoglycemia, though, can come from late dumping syndrome, which means it doesn't happen right away, but it might happen several hours later. And when you see that, hypoglycemia does tend to be a part of that. So again, if you're noticing that, you might back up and say, what did I have to eat a couple of hours before? Okay, so early and late dumping syndrome can give different symptoms, and hypoglycemia tends to show up later.
Okay, wonderful. So I guess we have just about 10 minutes left or so. It's between 10 and 15.
I'll try to get through, because I was talking about anti-inflammatory from your omega-3s in fish, but you can also get omega-3s from plant sources. So if you like flax seeds or ground flaxseed meal, then you put that in your smoothie, for example, or walnuts or pumpkin seeds. All of these contain what's called the plant source of omega-3, which is known as ALA. You might have seen that on some bags or marketing. ALA, it's called alpha-linoleic acid, and it's just the plant source of omega-3s. It's not near as powerful as what you get from salmon or fish, but it does give you a source. It's probably the conversion rate is probably about 10%. So not near as powerful, but you still get some. So if you use flaxseed meal in a smoothie, that's a way to add it. If you use pumpkin seeds unsprinkled on something, once you've worked your way back to nuts and seeds, that's another way. And then the last one, because I know we're tight on time, avocados. People go, what? Avocados? Yes, packed with nutrition. Healthy fat, monounsaturated fat, so heart health, fiber, that deep green color of the avocado contains anti-inflammatory compounds. And because it's low in saturated fat, it's a benefit to lowering the cholesterol. So it has lots of benefits besides just anti-inflammatory. Most people aren't aware of that. So avocado, and most people love it. And after surgery, sometimes it's one of the first fats people will add back in small amounts because they can tolerate it so well. And you can use little slithers. You don't have to start with the whole one. You can use little slithers, add it back in slowly.
I think too, I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but I've heard people say that the more that they eat, like fruits and vegetables and whole foods, the more that they want them. It's kind of like you just, that starts being the norm for you. So, just starting small, like if you're not used to eating a lot of green whole foods, starting in and see what happens. See if you start craving more of those things. And
I think too, you start feeling better.
Yeah.
And who doesn't want to feel better, right? So you've done all this work, you've had surgery, you're working to be on your journey and your transformation. You want to feel well. These foods have the ingredients to help you do just that. And the more fiber you have, something we don't bring up, but I'll say this last minute, more fiber is not just great anti-inflammatory, but constipation, big issue for post-surgery, right? And so the more fiber you add, the less constipation you're going to have and the benefits you're going to get from the fiber too. So
absolutely. And really inflammation is probably a bigger topic this year anyways because of COVID. I mean, I hate to say it because it's the big thing probably everybody hears everywhere, but with COVID, there's a lot of inflammatory processes going on, and a lot of times people will lose their appetite whenever they're sick with that. And I'd say, picking a few things that are that can help you, because some of these things can take a little while to get over. So maybe adding a little bit of the herbs in your foods, or making, like you said, some fish, or doing little things like that to try to help gain your strength back and get you feeling better, and without having to take so many different medications and stuff naturally.
Right. It's a wonderfully smart thing to do. It just helps with the inflammation, but it also helps the immune system to recover and to start to support the immunity again. So food can do be helpful in a lot of ways, along with the other tools that you're doing.
Yeah.
So did we get them all in?
I think so. Let's do a recap real quick. So we have herbs. We have
herbs and spices.
Absolutely. We have
fiber.
Fiber.
What? Fiber.
The lentils and beans and things like that.
And
Brittany,
vegetables and your fruit.
Chime in. Do you remember?
Lentils and beans and fruit. Did we say garlic already?
Yeah.
Avocados.
Avocados. What about
cherries?
Yep.
Cherries.
How about your omega-3s?
Oh, salmon and tuna and anchovies.
Okay. And what if you want plant sources? Remember, what can you add to your smoothie? Plant sources.
Oh, kale and spinach.
And flaxseed. Remember, flaxseed.
And flaxseed. Oh, I wanted to ask you actually. Is there any? What about chia seeds?
Chia seeds, I would really need to look up. Chia seeds have some protein. They probably do have phytonutrients. I think they're recently being more popular. My guess is going to be, though, that most seeds do contain phytonutrients. So I'm going to assume that they do as well.
I make a breakfast bowl with chia seeds, so I was wondering if that was any good or not.
Yes, I would say yes. Again, just different things, trying different things. Smart.
Wonderful. Well, in recap, thank you so much for sharing all those great ideas. Now it's making me hungry because I don't know about either of you, but I haven't eaten lunch yet. Susan, are you on the same time zone, or you're a couple hours?
I'm at 2 o'clock. Yeah, I'm Eastern time, so it's 3 o'clock here.
Okay. So it's making me hungry.
We got a storm in Orlando to come today, right?
Thank the Lord. Thank the Lord that we made it through with keeping you on the whole time. Susan, tell us, in recap too, tell us about your website. We posted a link, and tell us about how people can find out about you and
the podcast too.
And you, since ProCare is our sponsor, you actually are an affiliate for ProCare. You have a code that we can share here that people can receive a discount for ProCare products.
I don't have it in front of me.
Oh.
And I can say, even though I don't have it in front of me, and yes, ProCare is a wonderful sponsor of the podcast. But on the website, which is, let me just give you the link to go to. This is where you can find everything. It's breakingdownnutrition.com/resources. So breakingdownnutrition.com/resources. And on that page, you'll find the link to the podcast, the newsletter, to freebies that we have, informational pieces on protein and dumping syndrome, things like that. The links to the ProCare supplements and to other bariatric tools that might work for you. So if you go and use that link, you're going to find it. If you use the podcast app on your phone or any podcatcher like Apple Podcast or Google and look it up, it's Bariatric Surgery Success. So that's the podcast. Bariatric Surgery Success comes out every week, and it's short and to the point. It averages anywhere from 6 to 10 minutes, and I answer a lot of questions that get asked in my private Facebook group, which you guys are welcome to join. I pick topics that are trending and being talked about in bariatric surgery world, and I dig into them deep, and I give you the information that you need for your journey, and somewhere between 6 and 10 minutes. So you're in, you're out, and you have what you need.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. And I think we have just a few minutes left. Brittany, do you want to share anything regarding our ProCare sponsor?
Sure. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Just got to find the right link. This is what happens when you have a million.
And again, you can access things through Susan's site as well. So,
easily. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Yes, I can.
Okay. So this is ProCare Health's website. If you guys are not familiar with ProCare Health products, I would urge you to try our free samples, because we have quite a different things that you guys can try. So what you do is you just click the free sample button up here, and then you fill out the information. It takes like maybe 2 minutes, depending on how fast of a typer you are. And then down here at the bottom where it says your message, if you have a specific flavor of calcium chew or a specific formula that you would like to try, you can put all of that information here, and they'll actually send you out a little free sample care package. And if you're not familiar, so ProCare Health was actually the first company that came up with a once daily formula too for bariatric patients. So that's kind of what makes this unique and special a little bit. So we have a capsule formula. We have also a chewable that comes in 2 different flavors. For the capsule and the fruit punch flavor, there's 3 different options of iron too, so it'll fit just about everybody's needs. And then something else that makes this a little unique and special is we're the only company that offers prenatal vitamins for bariatric patients. So all those mamas out there, I know that some patients actually they get surgery in order to try and help their fertility. So we do cater to those people as well. And then we also have probiotics. I mean, probiotics are super special. Maybe we can talk about that one day.
That's a great, you know what, we are going to be talking to Katie Chapman about gut health. I'll ask her if we can make sure we talk about probiotics in that section, because I think that would be really helpful.
And then our calcium chews are a favorite for everybody. I mean, they're wonderful. I personally like the cinnamon roll. Brenda's favorite is our sea salted caramel. And once again, those are also available for samples as well. So,
Brittany, I was just thinking too, while you're under the product section, under the category vitamins and minerals, if you could click there, there's also, ProCare also has the fiber cell powders. Since we were talking about fiber, I just wanted to bring that up and mention, we don't talk about it very often, but we do carry fiber, and you can add, they have, you can buy it in the little jugs or the little packets, and it's amazing that you actually, it allows us to have that in, you can mix it with food or drink, and easy way to get fiber in if, like Dr. Mitchell said, if you can't always get everything in your food.
Right.
You know, one of the things that I really liked about this, and the reason I started recommending the ProCare Health products, is that you do something that not a lot of companies do, and you test a lot of your products with a company called Consumer Labs. And for the quality of them, and they actually contain what they say. I've been a consumer, but long before I knew you guys, a Consumer Labs a subscriber for years, because their information is accurate and evidence-based, and I use it for a lot of different talks and research and things that I'm doing. So when I found out that your company actually has Consumer Labs test a number of your products for quality, that was a big deal.
Oh,
You know, I was
well,
gonna say
thank
that, I
you.
know.
Yes, thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. Hey, and I also want to say here, Scotty says best vitamins ever, and my favorite calcium is the chocolate bar. But we have like 30 seconds left, so we're all gonna just wish everybody. Brittany says it's coming back in stock. The chocolate bar. Yes, those are delicious. But we got just a few seconds left here, so we're gonna thank everybody and thank you, Dr. Mitchell, so much
Thank
for
you
being
so
here
much
with
for
us.
joining us today.
We appreciate it, and thank you.
You're
We
welcome.
say hi to everybody out there on Facebook as well as our Crowdcast channel, and we appreciate all of you, and have a most fantastic day. Thank you so much.
Alrighty, bye everybody.
Okay, bye-bye.